good evening, and welcome, wherever you are, and however long your day has been. You can set it all down now. The day is over. There is nothing left that it needs from you. Nothing to fix, nothing to finish, nothing to carry into the dark. So let us begin the way we always begin, with one slow breath. Draw it in gently and let it go. Let your body grow heavy where it rests. Let your shoulders sink. Let your hands lie still and open. Feel the surface beneath you, taking all of your weight so that you no longer have to hold any of it yourself. You do not need to stay awake for this. Truly, you do not. If sleep comes for you while the story is still being told, then let it come and let it carry you off. You will not miss anything. The story is only here to walk beside you for a little while, down toward the quiet country of sleep. So we will not hurry. We will move slowly tonight, the way snow falls slowly, the way the long northern night comes down. We will linger in each place before we move on. Tonight, we are going far to the north and far back in time, back to the old, cold lands at the top of the world, where the winters are long and the nights are longer, and where, for 1,000 years and more, people gathered close around their fires while the dark pressed in against the walls and told one another stories to hold back the night. These were the people we now call the Norse, the people of the long ships and the deep fjords of Iceland and Norway and the windswept islands of the north, and the stories they told in those long dark winters were among the grandest that human beings have ever imagined. Stories of gods and giants, of a great tree that holds up all the worlds, of how everything began out of nothing in a yawning emptiness, and of how, one far-off day, everything will end and then begin again. That is the journey we are going to take tonight. We are going to travel through the whole of the Norse cosmos, slowly from its very beginning. We will stand in the emptiness before the worlds were made. We will watch the first fire meet the first ice. We will find the great tree that grows at the center of everything, and we will climb among its branches and down among its roots, and visit the worlds that hang upon it like lanterns in the dark. So there is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. Only rest and listen, and let the old story carry you down into sleep. Let your breathing slow, just a little more, and let us go back now to the very beginning, to the time before there was anything at all. In the beginning, there was no beginning. There was only a great and silent emptiness. The Norse had a name for it. They called it Ginnungagap, the yawning void, the gaping emptiness. And it is hard, even now, to imagine such a thing. There was no earth, no sky, no sea, no stars to give light, and no darkness to swallow them. For there was nothing yet to be light or dark. There was no above and no below. There was only the vast, yawning emptiness, stretching out in every direction, silent and waiting. But the emptiness was not entirely alone, for at its two far edges, unimaginably far apart, two regions had come into being. To the north lay a world of ice. The Norse called it Niflheim, the home of mist and cold. It was a frozen country of fog and rime and bitter frost, and at its heart bubbled a great spring, from which 11 rivers flowed out into the emptiness. And as those rivers ran far from their source, the water froze, layer upon layer, ice upon ancient ice, reaching slowly out into the void from the north. And to the south lay a world of fire. The Norse called it Muspelheim, a land of flame and ember and unbearable heat, glowing and crackling and throwing off sparks into the dark. No one could live there but its own fierce people, the fire giants, and their guardian, who waited at its border with a flaming sword. From this burning land, heat and sparks drifted out into the emptiness from the south. And so, across the great yawning void, the ice crept out from the north, and the fire breathed out from the south. And for a long age, they did not meet. There was only the long reaching of the ice and the long warmth of the fire across the silence between. But the void was not endless. And at last, somewhere in the vast middle of Ginnungagap, the two finally met. The warm air of the south drifted against the leading edge of the ancient ice, and the ice began, very slowly, to soften, to melt, to drip. And here is the strange and wonderful thing the Norse believed. From those first melting drops, where fire met ice in the middle of the emptiness, life began to take shape. The dripping ice gathered itself slowly into a form, and the form became a living thing, an enormous being, the first of all beings, a giant of unimaginable size. His name was Ymir, and he was the ancestor of all the giants who would ever live. He was not good, and he was not gentle. He was something older than good or gentle, something raw and vast, formed from the very first meeting of cold and warmth. And as he slept in the emptiness, more giants were born from him, from the sweat of his sleeping body. But Ymir was not the only thing the melting ice brought forth, for as the ice continued to melt, it also released a second great being, a cow, an enormous cow, vast as the giant himself, and her name was Audhumla, and from her flowed 4 rivers of milk. And on that milk the giant Ymir fed and grew. And what did the great cow herself feed upon in that empty world where nothing grew? She fed upon the ice. She licked the salty, frost-covered ice hour after hour, day after day. And as she licked, something began to appear beneath her tongue. On the first day, the hair of a head emerged from the ice. On the second day, a whole head. And on the third day, the great cow licked free an entire living being, beautiful and strong. This was Beri, the first of the gods, the ancestor of Odin himself. And so, in the middle of the yawning void, where fire had met ice, 2 great families had come into being. The giants descended from Ymir, and the gods descended from Bori. And between these 2 families, the giants and the gods, there would be conflict and weariness and war for as long as the worlds endured. In time, Buri had a son, and his son took a wife from among the giants. And they had 3 sons of their own. And the eldest and the greatest of those 3 sons was Odin. Odin, who would become the chief of all the gods, the wandering one, the seeker of wisdom, the All-Father. And Odin and his 2 brothers looked upon the vast and formless emptiness with the giant Ymir at its heart, and they made a tremendous decision. They decided to make the world. It was a terrible beginning by our gentle standards. For to build a world, they first brought an end to the great giant Ymir, and from his fallen body they made all things. From his flesh they shaped the earth, from his blood the seas and the lakes, from his bones the mountains, and from his teeth and the splinters of his bones, the rocks and the stones and the scattered scree of the high places. From his skull they raised the dome of the sky and set it up over the world, held aloft at its 4 corners. And from his hair they made the trees, and from his eyebrows they built a sheltered enclosure in the middle of the world, a safe green place for the first people who were yet to come. And then they took the sparks and the embers that still drifted out of Muspelheim, the land of fire, and they flung them up into the new-made dome of the sky. And there the sparks stayed and became the stars and the sun and the moon, set wandering on their paths across the heavens. The world had been made. Out of emptiness, out of fire and ice, out of the body of the first giant, a world had taken shape. And at the center of that world, there grew a tree. Picture it now, in your mind. The greatest tree that has ever been, or ever could be. The Norse called it Yggdrasil. It was an ash tree, they said, though no ash tree you have ever seen could begin to compare to it. Its trunk was wider than a kingdom. Its bark was gray and ancient and furrowed deep as river valleys. And it was so vast, so impossibly tall, that it held up the entire cosmos within its branches and its roots. For this was no ordinary tree. This was the World Tree, the great pillar at the center of everything. Its roots reached down into the deepest places below the worlds, and its branches lifted up above the highest heavens, and spread out so wide that they sheltered the whole of creation beneath their canopy. The Norse believed that all 9 of the worlds, every realm of gods and giants, and the living and the dead, hung within the shelter of this single, enormous tree. Try to feel the size of it. Try to feel how small and how safe it would make you. To stand at the foot of a tree so large that its roots cradle the dead and its crown brushes against the stars. A tree so old that it was already ancient when the gods were young. A tree so vast that whole worlds could rest among its boughs and never reach its edges. 9 worlds, the Norse believed, were held within Yggdrasil. Let us name them gently, the way you might name the rooms of a great quiet house as you walk through it at night. There was Asgard, the high realm of the great gods, the Aesir, raised up among the highest branches, golden and bright. There was Vanaheim, the home of the second family of gods, the Vanir, gods of the fields and the sea and the growing things of the earth. There was Alfheim, the luminous home of the light elves, fair and shining. There was Midgard, the middle world, the sheltered green enclosure in the center, ringed by a great ocean. And this, of all the 9, is the one you know best. For Midgard is the world of human beings. It is the earth. It is here. The world you are lying in, as you listen, is Midgard, one of the 9 worlds hanging in the branches of the great tree. There was Jotunheim, the rough and rocky land of the giants, beyond the edges of the safe places, full of frost and stone and old, slow, dangerous powers. There was Svartalfheim, the dark home of the dwarves, deep underground, where the greatest treasures and the finest craftsmanship in all the worlds were made by hammer and forge in the dark. There was Nidavellir, another deep realm of the delvers and the makers. There was Muspelheim, the land of fire we have already seen, still glowing away at the edge of things. And there was Niflheim, the world of ice and mist, and below it, deepest of all, the realm of the dead, ruled by a quiet and solemn queen, where those who died of sickness or old age went down to their long rest. 9 worlds, all of them held, all of them connected, all of them sheltered by the one great tree. And the tree was alive. Not only alive as a tree is alive, but alive with creatures, busy with its own quiet life. An eagle of great wisdom sat in its highest branches. A squirrel ran up and down its enormous trunk, carrying messages. 4 deer browsed among its leaves, and down among its roots coiled a great serpent. The tree was a whole living world in itself, vast and ancient and humming with life, holding everything together at the center of the dark. Let that vastness settle over you, softly, like snow. You are resting in one small green corner of one of the 9 worlds, and all around you, holding you, sheltering you, rises the great gray trunk of the World Tree, older than the gods, reaching up past the stars and down past the dead. Now let us go down, slowly, to its roots. For something important waits there, something to do with fate, and with wisdom, and with the price of knowing. The great tree stood upon 3 roots, the Norse believed, and each root reached down into a different region, and beneath each root lay a well of deep water, and these wells were among the most sacred places in all the cosmos. Let us go first to the root that reached toward Asgard, the realm of the gods. Beneath it lay the holiest well of all. It was called the Well of Erd, the Well of Fate. Its water was white and pure, so pure that everything it touched was made fair and bright. And the gods themselves came here, each day, riding across the rainbow to hold their councils beside its quiet waters. And beside the Well of Fate, there lived 3 women. They were called the Norns, and they were, perhaps, the most powerful beings in all the 9 worlds, more powerful even than the gods, for it was they who shaped the fate of all living things. Their names were Erd, which means that which has become, the past, and Verdandi, that which is becoming, the present, and Skold, that which shall be, the future. The past, the present, and the future, sitting together beside the well at the foot of the World Tree. And what did they do, these 3? They tended the tree. Each day, the Norns drew water from the sacred well and mixed it with the white clay that lay about its edges. And they spread this healing mixture upon the great trunk of Yggdrasil, so that its bark would not rot, so that it would stay green and strong and living. For the tree, vast as it was not beyond harm. The serpent gnawed at its roots. The deer nibbled its shoots. Its sides ached and weathered. And so, every single day, the 3 Norns tended it and healed it and kept it alive, the way you might tend something old and beloved that you could not bear to lose. And the Norse believed that the Norns shaped the fate of every person too, that at the birth of each child, in some quiet way, the 3 women by the well measured out the thread of that life, its length, its joys, its sorrows. The Norse did not find this a frightening thought exactly. It was simply the way of things. Even the gods themselves were subject to fate. Even Odin, the All-Father, wise as he was, could not escape what was woven for him by the women at the well. There was a deep calm in this, for them, a sense that the pattern was already laid, and that one's task was not to escape it, but to meet it well. Now let us go to a second route, and a second well. This route reached toward Jotunheim, the land of the giants, and beneath it lay another spring. It was called Mimir's well, and it was the well of wisdom and understanding. Its waters held all knowledge, all memory, all the deep understanding of how the worlds truly worked, and it was guarded by a wise and ancient being named Mimir, who drank from it each morning, and who therefore knew more than almost anyone in all the 9 worlds. And here we come to one of the most famous and most telling of all the stories of Odin. For Odin, above all things, desired wisdom, more than comfort, more than power, more than ease. He wanted to understand. He wanted to know the deep truths of the world, to see further and clearer than anyone else. And he knew that the waters of Mimir's well held exactly the wisdom he longed for. So Odin, the chief of all the gods, the All-Father himself, traveled to the well, and he asked Mimir if he might drink from it, and Mimir named his price. The waters of wisdom were not free. If Odin wished to drink, he must give up something precious in return. He must give one of his own eyes and drop it into the well. Think about what that means. The god of wisdom asked to give up half of his own sight forever in exchange for understanding, to become one-eyed for all the rest of time, to trade away a part of how he saw the world in order to truly know it. And Odin did not hesitate for long. He took out one of his own eyes, and he dropped it into the well, where it sank down among the deep waters and remained. And then he drank, and the wisdom of the well flowed into him. From that day, Odin was one-eyed, and ever after, in all the stories, he is pictured so, with one piercing eye and one empty socket, often hidden beneath the brim of a wide gray hat. It became the very mark of him. The price he paid is written on his face for all time. There is something in that idea worth resting in. As you drift toward sleep, that deep understanding has a cost. That to truly see, we sometimes have to give something up. The Norse did not imagine wisdom as something easy or free. They imagined it as something you sacrifice for, something you pay for with a part of yourself. And their highest god was the one most willing to pay. But this was not the last price Odin would pay for wisdom. There was another, stranger sacrifice still to come. We will return to it soon. For now, let the image stay with you. The deep well, dark and still, at the foot of the great tree, the single eye resting forever in its depth, and the one-eyed god walking away wiser than before into the worlds. Let us climb now, up from the deep roots, all the way up through the great trunk of the tree, to the high and shining realm among its branches, to Asgard, the home of the gods. Asgard was a place of golden halls and high green fields, raised up above all the other worlds, bright and fair and strong. Here lived the Aesir, the great family of the Norse gods, and to reach it from the world of humans below, one had to cross a wonderful bridge, a bridge of rainbow, shimmering red and gold and blue, arching up from the middle world all the way to the gates of Asgard. The Norse called it Bifrost, the trembling, flaming bridge. And it was guarded day and night by a god who never slept. His name was Heimdall, the watchman of the gods. He sat at the edge of Asgard, where the rainbow bridge met the shining realm, and he kept watch over all the worlds. And his senses were so keen that he could see for 100 leagues by day or by night, and could hear the grass growing in the meadows and the wool growing on the backs of the sheep. He needed less sleep than a bird. And beside him he kept a great horn. And it was said that on the last day of all, when danger finally came across the bridge, Heimdall would lift that horn to his lips and blow a blast that would be heard throughout all the 9 worlds. But that day was far off. For now, he simply watched, faithful and tireless, while the worlds turned in peace. In the highest hall of Asgard sat Odin, the All-Father, upon his great seat, and it was said that from this high seat, Odin could look out across all the worlds at once and see everything that was happening everywhere. Upon his shoulders perched two ravens, black as the space between stars. Their names were Hugin and Munin, which mean thought and memory. And each morning, Odin sent them flying out across all the worlds. And each evening they returned to him and whispered into his ears everything they had seen. Thought and memory, flying out into the world and returning each night so that the wise god might know all that passed. And at Odin's side was Frigg, his wife, the queen of the gods. She was wise in her own right, and it was said that she too knew the fates of all things, all that would come to pass. Though she seldom spoke of it, she sat at her spinning wheel, spinning the clouds, and she watched over the halls and the households of gods and humans alike. Of all the gods, she was the most loving and the most devoted. And it is her story, and the story of her beloved son, that will be the heart of our night. But not yet. Let us linger a little longer in the peace of Asgard, for there were many gods in those bright halls. There was Thor, the thunder god, Odin's son, vast and red-bearded and tremendously strong, who rode across the sky in a chariot drawn by goats, and whose great hammer made the thunder roll. Of all the gods he was the strongest and the most beloved by ordinary people, for he was the protector, the one who stood between humankind and the cold dangers of the giants. When storms rolled across the northern sky, the people did not always fear them. Sometimes they smiled and said that Thor was abroad, riding out to defend them. There was Tyr, the brave god, who had given up his own right hand to bind a terrible wolf, and who stood for courage and for justice. There was Freyr, a god of peace and good harvests and gentle rain, who made the fields fruitful and the sun warm, and his sister Freyja, a goddess of love and beauty, who rode in a chariot drawn by cats, and who was, in her own way, as powerful as any of them. And there was one more, who walked among the gods, though he was not truly one of them, Loki, half-giant, clever, restless, and impossible to pin down. Sometimes he helped the gods, and his quick wit got them out of trouble more than once. But there was something in him that could not be trusted, a coldness beneath the charm, a delight in mischief that could turn, without warning, to cruelty. The gods kept him close and laughed at his jokes, and did not yet understand what he would one day do. We will come to that too, in time. For now, the halls of Asgard were bright, and the mead flowed, and the gods feasted in peace beneath the branches of the great tree. The rainbow bridge shimmered, the watchman kept his watch, the ravens flew out and returned, and all seemed well in the high realm, golden and untroubled, at the top of the world. But Odin was not content, even here. For Odin always wanted to know more, and his hunger for wisdom would lead him, next, to the strangest sacrifice of all. We have seen that Odin gave up his eye for a drink from the well of wisdom, but there was a deeper knowledge still that he longed for, a knowledge that could not be bought even with an eye. He longed to understand the runes. The runes were the ancient letters, the sacred symbols of the Norse world, but they were far more than just an alphabet, just marks for writing words. The Norse believed that the runes held power, that they were woven into the very fabric of fate, that they were the hidden shapes behind all things, and that whoever truly understood them could heal and protect and see into what was hidden and work deep magic in the world. The runes were knowledge itself in its purest and most secret form, and they did not lie in any well to be bought with an eye. They were hidden in the deep structure of the cosmos, and they would not give themselves up to anyone who had not suffered for them. And so Odin made a choice that is one of the strangest and most striking in all of mythology. He went to the great tree Yggdrasil itself, and he wounded himself with his own spear, and he hung himself upon the tree, suspended from its branches, neither quite living nor quite dead, given as a sacrifice. Given, the old poem says, himself to himself. The god offering himself upon the tree in search of wisdom, and there he hung. For one night, and then another, and another. Through 9 long nights, he hung upon the wind-swept tree, wounded and alone, and given no bread and no drink, no comfort of any kind. Below him fell away the deep places. Above him spread the branches and the stars. And he hung in the cold wind, in the dark, suffering and waiting, and looking down into the depths. It is a hard image, but it is not, in the end, a despairing one, for Odin was not destroyed. He was searching. He had given himself over completely to the long darkness, in the faith that something would be found there, that on the far side of the suffering, on the far side of the 9 long nights, there would be knowledge waiting that could be found no other way. And on the 9th night, at the very end of his endurance, in the depths of his suffering and his looking, it happened. He saw them. Down in the darkness below the tree, the runes appeared to him, the secret shapes, the hidden knowledge he had hung 9 nights to find. He cried out, and he reached down, and he took them up. And in that moment, the long ordeal broke, and he fell back from the tree, alive and changed, and filled at last with the deep wisdom he had sought. And with that wisdom came power, the power to heal wounds, and to calm storms, and to turn aside weapons, and to know the hidden hearts of things. Everything that made Odin wise, everything that made him the greatest of the gods, he had won not by ease, but by giving himself over to the dark of the tree for 9 long nights, and waiting, and trusting that the morning would come. There it is again, that old, deep pattern, the one that runs through all these stories like a thread, the going down into the dark, the long endurance, and then, on the far side of it, the rising up again, changed and wiser into the light. The Norse understood something gentle and true beneath all the harshness of their cold world. They understood that the dark places are not only places of loss, that sometimes we have to pass through them and wait in them and endure them in order to find what can only be found there, and that the waiting always ends. The 9th night always passes. The runes always appear at last in the dark below the tree. So if you are still awake and drifting now toward your own night, let this be a quiet comfort. The dark you sink into each evening is not a place of loss. It is a place of rest and of renewal. You give yourself over to it the way Odin gave himself to the tree, and in the morning you rise again, restored. Let your breathing slow. Let yourself begin to sink gently, the way the gods sank into the long nights of the tree, trusting that the morning waits on the other side. And now, let us come to the heart of our story, to the most beloved of all the gods, and to the gentle, sorrowful tale of how he was lost. Of all the gods in all the bright halls of Asgard, there was one who was loved above all the others. His name was Baldr. Baldr was the son of Odin and of Frigg, the queen of the gods, and he was the fairest and the gentlest and the most radiant of all the gods. It was said that light shone from him, that he was so beautiful and so good that a kind of brightness seemed to follow wherever he went. He was wise and merciful and kind, and there was no one in any of the 9 worlds who did not love him. He was the joy of the gods, the best of them, the one who made the bright halls brighter simply by being there. But Baldr began to have dreams, dark dreams, troubling dreams, dreams of his own death coming for him out of the shadows. He did not understand them, but they frightened him, and they would not stop, night after night. And when he told the other gods of his dreams, a deep unease settled over all of Asgard, for these were not ordinary dreams. The gods knew the weight of such things. They feared that the dreams were a warning, that fate itself was stirring, and that their beloved Baldr was somehow in danger, and no one feared it more than his mother, Frigg. Frigg loved her son beyond all measure, and she would not, could not, simply stand by and let fate take him. So she set out to do something extraordinary. She decided that she would make the whole world promise not to harm her son. And so the Queen of the Gods traveled out across all the worlds, and she went to every single thing that might possibly do Baldr harm. And from each one, she drew a solemn promise. She went to the fire, and the fire swore it would not burn him. She went to the water, and the water swore it would not drown him. She went to the iron and all the metals, and they swore they would not cut him. She went to the stones and the earth and the trees. She went to the sicknesses and the beasts and the birds and the serpents. She went to everything, everywhere, every force and every substance that might bring harm to a living thing. And one by one, all of them gave their solemn oath. We will not hurt Baldr. We will not harm him. We promise. And when she was done, when the whole world had sworn its oath, Baldr was safe. Nothing in all of creation could harm him. And the gods rejoiced. In fact, they made a game of it. The gods would gather around Baldr in the great courtyard, and they would throw things at him, all in good fun. They would hurl stones and shoot arrows and swing axes and strike at him with all manner of weapons. And nothing touched him. The stones turned aside. The arrows fell short. The blades refused to bite. Everything in the world had promised not to harm him, and so nothing did. And the gods laughed and cheered, and Baldr stood in the center of it all, glowing and unharmed, and it became their favorite pastime, this joyful proof that their beloved was safe forever. But there was one among them who did not love the game, Loki. Something in Loki could not bear the sight of it. The joy, the safety, the love that surrounded Baldr, and his old mischief curdled, this time, into something darker. He decided to find out whether Baldr was truly as invulnerable as he seemed, whether Frigg, in all her vast and careful work, had perhaps missed something. So Loki disguised himself and went to Frigg, and gently drew her into conversation, and he asked her, as if only making idle talk, whether it was truly so that every single thing in all the worlds had sworn the oath. Was there nothing, anywhere, that had been passed over? And Frigg, suspecting nothing, told him the truth. There was one thing, she admitted. One small, young, harmless thing. west of Asgard, there grew a little plant called mistletoe, and it had seemed to her so small, so soft, so young, and so utterly harmless that she had not bothered to ask it for the oath. It was nothing. It could hurt no one. Why trouble such a tiny, gentle thing? And Loki had what he wanted. He went quietly, and he found the little sprig of mistletoe, and he took it, and he shaped it, and he made from that soft, small plant a dart, a little spear, hard and sharp. And he carried it back to where the gods were playing their joyful game around Baldr. At the edge of the crowd stood a god named Hod. He was Baldr's own brother, and he was blind, and so he stood apart from the game. For how could a blind god join in the throwing? He could not see his brother to aim. And Loki came to him, all kindness, and asked why he was not joining in. Hod said that he could not see, and that he had nothing to throw in any case. And Loki said, gently, that this should not keep him from honoring his brother. Here, said Loki, I will give you something to throw, and I will guide your hand, so that you may aim true. And he placed the little dart of mistletoe into the blind god's hand, and he guided Hod's arm. And Hod, meaning no harm, knowing nothing, threw, and the mistletoe flew straight and true. And it struck Baldr, and because the mistletoe alone, of all the things in all the worlds, had never sworn the oath, it did not turn aside. It did not fall short. It did not refuse to bite. And Baldr, the bright, the beloved, the best of all the gods, fell down dead. And a silence fell over all of Asgard, deeper than any silence there had ever been. The light went out of the worlds. The gods stood frozen in horror and grief, unable to speak, unable even to weep at first, so total was their loss. The thing they had thought impossible, the thing they had made a joyful game of disproving, had happened. Baldr was dead, and the brightness of the 9 worlds was dimmed, it seemed, forever. There was an attempt to win him back, for Baldr had gone down, as the dead did, to the cold realm below, to the hall of the quiet queen of the dead. And the gods sent a messenger down the long, dark road to plead for his return. And the queen of the dead made a bargain. She said that if Baldr was truly so beloved, if everything in all the worlds truly mourned him, then she would let him go. Let every single thing, she said, living and dead, weep for Baldr. And if all things weep, he may return. And so the word went out across all the worlds, weep for Baldr, weep and bring him home. And everything wept. The gods wept, and the people wept, and the giants wept, and the animals wept, and the stones wept, and the trees wept, and the very metals wept, just as everything had once sworn the oath. All the world cried out its grief, so that the beloved God might come home. All the world but one. For in a dark cave sat an old giantess who would not weep. Some say it was Loki in disguise, hiding his crime behind a stranger's face. And when she was asked to weep for Baldr, she only said coldly that she had no love for him, and that the queen of the dead might keep what she held. And because that one heart, alone in all the worlds, would not shed a single tear, the bargain failed, and Baldr remained among the dead. It is a sorrowful story, the most sorrowful the Norse ever told. But hold on, just a little longer, for it is not quite the end of Baldr. There is a turning still to come, far off, on the last day and the first day of all, and it is one of the most beautiful things the Norse ever imagined. The Norse believed something that set them apart from many other peoples. They believed that even the gods would one day die. They had a name for that day. They called it Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, the doom of the powers. The last great battle, foretold from the beginning, when the long peace would finally break, and the gods and the giants would meet at last in a final reckoning, and the worlds would be unmade. And they knew, more or less, how it would go, for the Norns by the well had woven it, and Odin, in all his hard-won wisdom, had seen it coming, and could not prevent it. That was the deep, brave sorrow at the heart of the Norse world. Their gods knew their own doom was coming, and they did not run from it, and they could not stop it. They simply resolved to meet it well when it came. The signs would come first, a great and terrible winter. The Norse said, 3 winters long with no summer between, when the snow would fall without ceasing, and the cold would creep into every corner of the worlds. The sun and the moon, who had been set wandering across the sky at the beginning of all things, would at last be caught and swallowed by the wolves who had forever chased them, and the heavens would go dark. The stars would vanish, the earth would tremble, every chain and every binding that the gods had ever made would break, and every old imprisoned danger would come loose at once. And then the last battle would come. The watchman Heimdall would lift his great horn at last, the horn that had waited since the beginning, and he would blow a blast heard throughout all 9 worlds, and the gods would arm themselves and ride out to meet their fate. And there, on the final field, gods and giants and monsters and all the loosed powers of the cosmos would meet in a battle to end all battles. And in that battle, the Norse believed, most of the great gods would fall. Odin himself would fall. Thor would fall. The bright halls would burn. The great tree itself would shake to its very roots. And fire would sweep across all the worlds. And then the seas would rise. And the earth would sink down at last beneath the dark water. And all would be silence and emptiness, as it had been in the very beginning. It is a bleak vision, and if the story ended there, it would be a vision of pure despair. But it does not end there, for the Norse, in their cold wisdom, understood something. They understood that the end is not truly the end. That after the longest winter, spring still comes. That after the deepest dark, the light returns. And so they told what happens after Ragnarok. And it is, quietly, one of the most hopeful endings in all of mythology. For after the fire and after the flood, after the world had sunk down into the dark water, and all had seemed lost, the Norse said that the earth would rise again, slowly, gently, out of the sea. A new world would lift itself up into the light, and it would be green. Green and clean and new, more beautiful than the world that had come before. Waterfalls would fall from new mountains, fields would grow grain unsown, and the great tree, Yggdrasil, would still be standing. For the tree, it was said, would shake in the last battle, but it would not fall. It would endure through fire and flood and the ending of all things, and shelter what needed to be sheltered, and come through to the other side. For it was said that when the fires came, 2 people had taken refuge deep within the World Tree itself, a man and a woman, sheltered in the trunk of Yggdrasil, who slept through the ending of the world, hidden in the great tree, and fed upon the morning dew, and survived. And when the new green earth rose up out of the water, they came out from the tree into the new morning, and the world was peopled once more from the two of them. Life began again, sheltered through the dark by the great tree, exactly as life had first begun so long before. And some of the gods survived too, the sons of the fallen gods, the young ones, who had not died in the last battle, came together again in the green of the new world. They found, in the new grass, the old golden game pieces of the gods who had come before, and they remembered them and spoke of all that had passed. And a new sun, the daughter of the old one, rose into the new sky, as bright as her mother had been, and began again the slow turning of the days. And Baldr returned. Yes, Baldr, the bright, the beloved, who had fallen and gone down to the realm of the dead. After Ragnarok, after the old world had burned and the new world had risen green from the sea, Baldr came back. He rose up out of the realm of the dead into the light of the new morning, and he walked again in the green fields of the reborn world, and the long grief was over at last. The best of the gods, lost in the old world, was returned in the new. The light that had gone out came back. And so the great wheel had turned all the way around, from the emptiness to the worlds, to the long ages of gods and giants, to the ending in fire and water, and then, out of the dark water, to a new and green beginning, with the beloved God returned, and the great tree still standing, and the morning rising once again. So that is the shape of it. The whole of the Norse cosmos, from its beginning to its ending, and to its beginning once again. It began in emptiness, in the great yawning void, where fire met ice and life first dripped into being. It grew into 9 worlds, all of them held in the branches and the roots of a single, enormous tree. It was a world of gods who sought wisdom in the dark and paid for it, an eye in a well, 9 nights on the tree. It was a world that knew grief, the deepest grief, when the brightest and best of all was lost, and it was a world that knew its own ending was coming, and did not flinch from it. But beneath all of it, holding all of it up, was the great tree, Yggdrasil, older than the gods, surviving even the end of the worlds. Sheltering in its trunk, the two who would begin the world again. The still point at the center of everything, around which all the turning turned. And there, in the end, is the gift the old Norse storytellers left for us, whispering it across 1,000 years, from their fires in the long northern dark to you, here, now, lying in the quiet at the end of your day. They knew, better than almost anyone, how long and how cold the dark can be. They lived through winters we can barely imagine, in nights that lasted, in the far north, for weeks on end. They had every reason to believe in endings, in cold, in loss. And they did. They looked the ending full in the face and named it, and did not pretend it would not come. And then, having done that, they said quietly, "But the tree still stands. The earth rises green again from the water. The new sun climbs the new sky, and the beloved one comes back from the dark. The dark is real, but it is not the end. It is only the turning. After the longest winter, the green returns. After the deepest night, the morning comes. It always has. It always will. And your sleep tonight is only a small turning of that same great wheel, a gentle sinking down into the dark, like a seed into the winter earth, like the 2 sleepers safe within the tree. You do not have to do anything to make the morning come. You do not have to keep watch or hold on or stay awake to guard the dawn. It will rise on its own, green and new, while you rest, exactly as it always has. So let yourself go down now into the quiet. Let the day sink away beneath the dark water. Let yourself be sheltered, like a sleeper in the heart of the great tree. While the long night turns slowly around you, the tree is standing. The Norns are tending it by the still white well. The watchman keeps his watch on the rainbow bridge. And far off, beyond the dark, the new morning is already rising, green and bright, and it is coming, as it always comes, for you. But that is for later. That is for the morning. For now, there is only the dark and the quiet, and the great tree holding you safe. So rest now. Let go. Sink down into sleep. The morning will rise on its own. Good night.